You didn't see.
That's not that far fetched. I've seen RoboCop. Duh.
Watching RoboCop now, that guy cannot move to save his life. It's hilarious.
It's great. That's a great movie.
I've never seen the original Terminator.
How can you?
Why am I doing a movie podcast with you, man? You've never seen anything good.
How can you even appreciate? The whole thing? How can you appreciate it without seeing the original?
I don't know. I love Terminator 2.
Worse, by the way.
I love Terminator 2. Hey folks, and welcome to episode 2 of Real Amigos, the podcast where we get together and talk about movies. My name is Chris White, and I am joined by, as always, Donnie Miles. Donnie, say hi.
Hi.
How you doing today?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm good. If you guys are watching the video podcast, you will actually see Donnie has some prop art behind him of the movie we're going to be discussing tonight. Also with us, as always, is Philip Miles. Phil, say hi.
Hello.
How you doing, man?
Good.
Yeah?
Tired.
All right. Tired. All right. Well, let's get this thing cranking. If this is your first time listening to Real Amigos, we are a podcast about movies. We like to talk about movies that we all share an affinity for, whether we all hate it, we all love it, or maybe we just like to talk about it. And so that is what we do. Tonight we're going to talk about one of my favorite movies of all time, The Matrix. And so we'll get into that in a little while. But real quick first, let's just talk just general conversation. I went and saw Black Panther. I'm the only one. Is that correct?
I have not seen it.
Okay. Have you guys seen anything good recently?
3 Billboards was good.
That's right. I've watched that too. Phil, you haven't seen it, right? We were just talking about this.
I haven't seen that.
Okay. So
No.
3 Billboards is great. Very harsh language. So if you can get past
Not
that,
family friendly.
yeah, if you can get
Spoiler
past
alert.
that. I will tell you, man, the scene that I love is you already talked about your favorite scene, so no spoilers. But the scene when the cop who plays the cop, Sam
Rockwell.
Yeah, Sam Rockwell. That's right. When he finally lets loose, when he finally lets loose and goes and takes that guy out across the street, without spoiling anything, that is one of the best scenes that I've seen in a long time.
That scene is wild, dude.
It's great. You should watch that. I watched Black Panther. I'm not a really big fan. We're not going to talk about that here, especially since I'm the only one that's seen it. But I expected a 10. I left thinking it was about a 6.5. So that is where I fall on Black Panther. Phil was actually in town last week, and so me and Phil went to the theater and watched 12 Strong.
It was good.
It was very good. Yeah, Chris Hemsworth is in that. Very, very handsome man.
Beautiful.
He's a very beautiful man. So so it's about the first responders after 9/11. Not first responders, but the first group that went into Afghanistan after what's it? It was Afghanistan, right? Or was it?
It was, yeah. That was.
Yeah.
So they met up with General Dostan of the Northern Alliance in order to help usher him into one of the city strongholds in the north, and helped him kill his enemies.
Yeah.
Which it was some of the best scenes in it were that he carried around like a general two-way radio on his hip, this Afghani, and they rolled up on this city, and he's like, "How do I even know the guys in that city are Taliban?" And he's like, "Rasim, tell those Americans I have with me that you are Taliban." And the guy comes on, he's like, "Da da 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 da," and they start shooting and stuff, and he's like, "See, Taliban." And they would just talk to each other over the radio.
He keeps calling him like you dog, like he's just like you dog or
I have
whatever.
American rockets. We're gonna kill you, you dog. Prepare to die. We're gonna bomb you right now.
It was good. Michael Pena was in it. I'm a big fan. After Ant-Man, I'm a big fan of Michael Pena. And
he's found his niche. He's playing like the kind of the funny.
Yeah.
So he's got the funny thing happening.
Yeah, he was great. So very good. All right, so that's kind of a little.
Shooter? Do you remember he was in Shooter?
Yeah, no, that was the Wahlberg movie.
Dude,
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie. But I don't think Michael Pena was that great. I will say this. I don't remember Michael Pena like really until Ant-Man. Like that was the role where I was like, holy cow, who is this guy?
Until he entered the Marvel universe.
maybe
got on Chris's radar.
Now that he's on your radar, you need to go back and watch Shooter, and I think you'll see that character style of his developing even then. He plays some sarcastic, funny stuff there.
I'll have to go back and see it. I think I only watched it one time when it came out.
Underrated. Great.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I see Mark Wahlberg gets a bad rap, but I really like him in most of the things that he does.
I don't know why, but I like Wahlberg. I have no idea.
I love that guy.
I think he's great. I think he's great. I mean, I liked when he was in the Transformers movie. I just think it's funny that he's like, we found a transformer. It's just like hearing Marky Mark say that, it just makes me happy.
Oh, I did see Dad Home too. That was okay. Mel Gibson in that was pretty good.
Oh, that's good. I've been wanting to watch it, but I feel like it's kind of a Christmas movie, so I feel like I've missed my window. So I may just wait and watch it next Christmas. But it is Christmas, right, Donnie? It's like
it is Christmassy.
Yeah.
Okay. I think just the thing Will Ferrell and Wahlberg did was the other guys.
Oh, yeah, that movie's so good. My favorite bit in that movie is when Eva Mendes is his wife. Will Ferrell's married to Eva Mendes, and she's gorgeous, and she walks in, and he's just like he's constantly like apologizing for her. I'm sorry, she's so annoying.
She's so.
Oh, that's good. And that was.
I think the best bit in that is when they get suckered into the guy's bribing him to go to the theater, and he's like, "Shoot, we did it again." Did you guys enjoy Jersey Boys? Oh man, the pageantry, the songwriting, it's fantastic.
It was good. Yeah, it was good. Other guys was good. Okay, let's do this as we always do. Before we jump into our topic, we always like to kind of go round table with a question. So since we're covering The Matrix today, I wanted to talk about Keanu Reeves. Now, I gave you guys, I prefaced this before we came on air, and Phil seemed to think there was only one answer to this. But the question that we're going to ask is, what is your favorite Keanu Reeves movie? So since Phil has a definitive answer, we're going to let Phil go first. Phil, what you got?
Yeah.
If you say anything other than Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, you are a moron.
Oh no. I mean, it's great.
That movie.
It's a great movie.
I'm 40 years old this year. I saw that movie in like middle school, and to this day, I refer to Socrates as Socrates. That movie has had a cultural impact beyond any other, and we're talking about The Matrix.
We are talking about The Matrix, yeah.
No other movie has impacted. No, I'm just kidding. It's just.
I mean,
I love Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I love those movies. I think they're ridiculous, but.
Both of them? You like both of them?
I do. The second one, when they go get Death, and oh man, I think Death is hilarious in Bogus Journey.
I mean, yes, I agree. I like both of them. I'm a little bit of the young. Well, I'm the young person of the group, I guess. So I don't feel like Bill and Ted was that pivotal for me, because I didn't watch it until I was probably late teens, just kind of like on a TBS rerun or something, and it was hilarious. It was a lot of fun, but it didn't have the same resonance for me. But I remember both of them. They would play them a lot, and I loved both of them too. I thought it was hilarious.
That's of course how you know they weren't good movies originally, like critically, because they played at 11 o'clock on TBS. On Monday.
Over and over again. That's right. All right, Donnie, what about you? Favorite Keanu Reeves movie?
Let me clarify that I don't think Keanu Reeves is a good actor at all.
Those are fighting words, dude. Those are fighting words.
I think he's wooden in almost everything he does. Although, now listen, hear me out.
That's his acting.
There are roles that he obviously picks that are perfect for that personality.
Fair enough.
I'm tempted here. Now, I love The Matrix. But I'm tempted to say John Wick. I really enjoyed John Wick a lot.
John Wick is excellent.
John Wick is...
It's perfect for him.
Ridiculous good.
It is ridiculous.
It's great.
The Matrix is ridiculous.
I said ridiculous good.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
There's not a moment in that movie where I'm thinking, why am I watching this movie?
Most overrated Keanu Reeves movie, Point Break.
Oh man, Point Break is great. You shut your mouth.
No,
Whatever.
Parenthood's a good one.
Whatever.
I'll go with John Wick.
That was my favorite Steve Martin movie. That's your favorite, and Keanu Reeves was in that too.
That's why I said it.
Friends, slow down. Dayton, stop. Can we work that?
Not a schmuck.
Can we work that quote into every episode? Friends, slow down.
Sure.
Yes,
sure.
you should.
I like that. I'll jump in, and I mean, John Wick definitely is just phenomenal. I mean, I like the second one too, but the first movie is nearly flawless in my opinion. I think it's excellent. I think it does better world building than almost any other movie that I've seen, especially not in a sci-fi setting. The thing that I love about John Wick, it's typically easy to do world building in a sci-fi movie because it's all made up. But John Wick is set in our real world, but it's still in a fantasy version of that world, and to be able to,
there's this whole other thing.
It's so great, man. The Continental and kind of the rules of the trade, and we learn in the second one how you can give like the whole like a token to like claim, and just like all of the rules and like the kind of the underlying current of that movie is fantastic. I think
scene in that movie is when the cop shows up at his house. You working tonight, John? Yep. Okay.
Yeah. They just kind of understand.
Okay. When the Russian dad goes, "Who did you mess with?"
Oh, that's
like,
yeah.
He's just like, oh
yeah,
my gosh.
and he like beats the crap out of it, like his
It was his son.
Yeah.
He was like, oh my.
Yeah. No, it's good. So, but for me, it's Matrix. We're gonna talk about it in a second, but Matrix for me was at just a perfect time in my life. I mean, I was graduating high school, and computers were coming on the scene. I got my first computer in 1999, which was the year when the movie came out. So it was like a perfect storm. This movie just hit it at just the right time, and so for me, Matrix is. I said it at the top, and I stand by. Matrix is one of my favorite movies of all time. I don't think it's a perfect movie. I think I like. On paper, I think John Wick is a better movie, but for me, Matrix just is the standout. So that will transition then, and that leads us into our conversation. So as we normally start, before we jump into just kind of our thoughts on the movie, I normally ask you guys when you watched it. So do you remember seeing it? Did you go to the theater? What were your first thoughts? So Donnie, we'll start with you. What were your first thoughts on Matrix? When did you see it?
Well, I remember when it came out of the theater, and I didn't think much of it, but I kept hearing tons of good stuff about it, and I wanted to see it, but I never did see it at the theater. I saw it on, remember Netflix when they used to have DVDs?
Oh yeah, the good old days.
I saw it on Netflix. I rented the DVD, and it was amazing. And it was not long. It was pretty quick after it came out. It's, whenever that was at that time. Yeah. 6-8 months, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe longer, but.
Yeah,
it dazzled me, man. It was pretty amazing.
I feel like
that doesn't surprise me because you're a special effects guy. Like that probably blew your mind
at the time. Yeah, it was bonkers.
It was crazy.
I know. I mean, I know it did well. I'm not trying to say that it didn't do well at the box office, but I feel like I don't know that I would consider it a cult movie, but I feel like it grew. Donnie, I feel like you were probably the majority because it was so unique and so just kind of off the wall that I think it got missed, but I think it eventually started really kind of taking a foothold. Phil, what about you? Did you see it in the theater?
No. Well, let me say this real quick. It wasn't. Well, hold the cover up for real, Donnie. Like if you look at the cover, like it looks like. It could have easily been that one movie, Equilibrium, or something. Like the cover of it doesn't look like, oh, I got to go see this movie. It's Keanu Reeves in a skin-tight black shirt. And so, I remember seeing it on DVD, I don't know, in the dorm in college.
Okay.
Would have been the first time I saw it. I think I was with a guy named Jason Cox, actually.
Okay, I remember
we
Jason
both
Cox.
know.
Yeah.
And it was the same kind of thing. Like, it was 99. I was in, we don't get a ton into our personal background in this podcast, but I was in Christian college, and I was exploring themes of like reality. And I remember this movie being like, holy crap. Not that it changed the way I see God, but it definitely got me thinking about how we think about the world. And so it was pretty interesting. Yeah, it was. I guess that's what makes it so popular. It's like we would watch it and you'd have to talk about it. And then if anybody hadn't seen it, you'd be like, hey, you got to see this movie. And so they'd go watch it, and then we would talk about it.
Yeah.
Let me be clear here. I love this movie, but I do not understand it at all.
Okay, we're gonna jump into that. So
if you don't understand this movie, we need to do a podcast episode about Memento.
Oh God, no. I love Memento.
And watch Donnie's face melt like Raiders of the Lost Ark style.
I've seen Memento multiple times, and I
don't get that either.
It's tough, dude.
It is rough. So I went to the theater. It came out in March of 1999, and I was at this point I had moved out of my house with my mom and moved in with my grandmother, and I had the freedom to see movies a lot more often. And I actually remember watching this on a Friday morning. And theater was
on a school day.
Yeah, well, that's a long story, but yes, on a school day. The theater was. I mean, we're talking about like a. Yeah, exactly. We're talking about like a 12:15 at AMC at Orange Park. And
in the theater.
Yeah, I mean, there's literally like 5 people there, and I just remember loving it so much, and then I remember. At this point, I was Donnie. Actually, was we all used to go to church together. Donnie was my youth pastor, but this was during the time when we had a really close knit youth group, and I just remember loving the movie so much that we ended up going back and seeing it. I can't remember if it was that same Friday or if we waited till Saturday, but I remember there was a handful of us that went back and watched it again. And
hey, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sorry. We normally didn't invite you. There was a lot of cursing in this, and I'll never forget. Like, this is a complete side tangent, but I'll never forget when Titanic came out, and Amy. It was on Amy's birthday, and I actually orchestrated this whole birthday thing where we went and we had 13 seats. We had 13 of our youth group go see Titanic, and then there's that minute and 30-second of her boobs. And I remember Donnie having like, he just wanted to beat me when he found out that I orchestrated taking his whole youth department to go see it. And I'm like, I didn't really know. I mean, it was a PG-13 movie. I'm like, we're all all right. So anyway, that's a side tangent. So I remember watching this in theater, absolutely loved it. And it began my obsession for the Matrix, and I might say, outside of Star Wars, The Matrix may be the movie that I've watched the most. I watch it a lot. So, all right, go. Well, Phil, what were you gonna say?
I don't remember.
Okay, all right. So let's. So
it's quality production.
Quality. You're gonna say something, and I didn't let you, and then you forgot what you were gonna say. Literally 2 seconds later. Very nice. I will say this before we jump into the actual content of the movie. My Twitter handle is NeoLego. I had to come up with my very first email address in 1999. We got a computer in the fall, so it was a few months, 6 months after we watched the movie. And I had to think of an email address, and so I had NeoLego, Matrix, and then of course I'm a huge Lego fan, and so neolego@aol.com was my first email address. Yes, and I've had NeoLego ever since, and it's just kind of stuck, and it's just and it's inspired, by my love for this movie. So, Donnie, I want to come back to you.
You said you would get AOL discs.
Oh yeah, man. You go to the store and they'd have them like at the checkout. And you're like, yeah. What was it like 15 free days or something like that, or whatever it was.
3 minutes or whatever.
Oh man, I used to always love the
sounds you'll never hear again.
I know, sounds of our childhood. It's funny. All right, Donnie, you said you didn't understand the movie, so let's jump in right there. Now, I will say this.
Can I just really quickly do my impression of Donnie watching the movie?
Please.
No,
If
I
you're-
understand it. I understand the concept. Okay, let's dive in.
Okay,
Okay,
let's dive
do
in.
that.
All right, Donnie, you start.
Let's
I
dive in
get
with
the
this.
concept. I get the whole concept. I get that you have these people. Earth, as we know it, is now a bunch of people that are basically,
Batteries.
encased in Nickelodeon slime.
Yes, we're batteries.
Are batteries for the, I guess, Skynet or whatever.
Sure.
And that's from the Terminator, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
Then, and I get that, and I get that they are waking Neo up, this small group that's escaped from the Matrix. I'd be curious to know how they did that, but whatever, they're out. And then, they're trying to get him to be the one to overcome the Matrix and free everybody from it. But they keep going back, I guess, into it, right? Like when they get on the hardline phone.
Correct.
They're going back into the Matrix as what they see themselves, that persona. That's why they all look all cool and leathered up and all that stuff, right?
Sure.
That's
I don't know.
stuff.
No, I don't know that it's their persona. It's just, because they look exactly the same. They're just dressed cool.
Because they have to blend in with that world.
Yeah.
That's the style of that world.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so, okay, like in the very opening scene,
Mm-hmm.
Trinity kills a bunch of cops.
Yes, she does.
So those are people, right?
Those are.
Like, did she just kill a bunch of people that are trapped in the Matrix? Because that's how I see it.
Well, so,
Because they're not agents; they're just cops.
yeah,
So they're indiscriminately killing the people they're trying to free.
Yeah.
Because they do it quite often throughout the movie. That's not a one-time deal. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, but yeah,
It's a war.
Okay, so wait a second. So I will say this. So Agent Smith is able to take over the bodies of every one of those cops, but he cannot do that to anybody who is real.
Yeah, because
Why not?
Some of those people are programs. They're not people.
He takes over the bum in the train station later on. Is he not a real person?
No, he's not.
Some of that stuff is just part of that whole world. Is the way I understand it is what's happening in the Matrix is the world that you're seeing in the Matrix aren't people. Like it's the world that's created around people. That's the world they're experiencing in their
But Morpheus says
state.
in the movie, Neo gets hurt. He wakes up. He has in the real world, he has blood on his fingers.
Correct.
And Morpheus says, if you die in the Matrix, you die in the real world.
Correct.
The body can't survive without the mind.
Correct.
So your contention is that the cops are a part of the virus program or whatever.
So here's what I would say, and I'll say this with a disclaimer because I don't know that I've actually thought about this watching it, but I would almost argue that the world that we are in, the Matrix created world that we're in, I think is created solely for Neo.
The whole thing?
Why would the robots create a world that could incubate their destroyer?
Well, no. So the idea is that so let's back up. I think that every person,
the Matrix, everyone.
The Matrix. I think that every person is think of it like VR. I think every person is plugged into their own VR universe, right?
Right. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
This is the world they're experiencing. Everyone. So the people are inserting themselves into Neo's
his world.
Reality.
So like the only real person in Neo's world is Neo, except for Morpheus's group who is trying to infiltrate his world to get him out. So the only real people are Neo and then Morpheus in the group.
that's why they have to come out of that sleep in order to interact with each other to create an uprising, because they're not able to interact with each other within the Matrix unless they go all into one together.
Agreed.
You're saying the Matrix is just one reality as Neo experiences it.
Yeah, but every individual has their own. Like Morpheus had a Matrix that was Morpheus's Matrix that he had to be rescued from.
Well, Cypher makes a deal later. Spoilers. I assume this show is always going to have spoilers. Cypher makes a deal with Agent
20
Smith.
years old.
He makes a deal with Agent Smith that he says, I want to be rich and all this stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to remember any of this.
Yeah, I don't want to remember any of this. So that your contention is that becomes his own reality.
Yeah, he would be plugged back into his Matrix. Yeah.
Okay. So his interactions are with no one ever, just his own mind, basically.
Right. They just sit there, and everything inside that world is a program. So the cops are programs, the people are programs.
If you're telling me that, then I get it. I didn't ever think of it that way. I always thought of those as other people.
So you thought of the Matrix as one big one.
Yeah, that's how I thought.
Everybody's walking around in it.
Yeah, no, I don't see it like that. The other thing you have to think about, and the whole idea, the conceit behind the Matrix is, we create electrical current whenever as we function. Like our brain, creates, electricity. It creates energy. So they have to plug them in and make them experience life.
More than others.
Yeah, that's true. But they have to, in order to use them as batteries, they have to force them to go through life. And so, so
remember,
he can be whatever. He could be president. He could be a terrorist. He could be whatever he wants within that universe. It's whatever he decides to do.
You just have to keep the mind active, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually love that idea now, because I've never thought about it quite to that extent. But I love that idea because it reinforces the whole hyper individualism that like if you live in a hyper individualistic state, you are actually living in a prison.
Yeah.
And the only way to be freed from that prison is to actually embrace teamwork, unity, community,
society,
right? Interaction in a real world. And it's hard and it sucks, but it's life.
Yeah, and you get that from Neo. Like we're introduced to Neo sitting in a dark room, asleep at his computer. As white as can be. They actually do, form the lighting so he looks super pale. He only interacts with that that guy right through his door. And had it not been for Follow the White Rabbit, he would have never even left his room. It looks like he's a guy that goes to work and then come home and lives in his computer. So he is, inward.
Yeah. He's Edward Norton from Fight Club.
Yeah. Yeah, now that's a crossover I'd like to see.
It's as if he'd never been to the beach, which we know can't possibly be true.
I mean, we've seen Point Break. We know that's not possible.
So, two words, Gary Busey. Anyway, so... Anyway,
oh man.
So I always thought, now it's been a long time since I saw The Matrix. It's probably been like 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
So you didn't watch it before talking about this show?
No, I watched it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you being funny? Okay. So I always thought the savior thing was implied, but the guy at the door early on, like right in the first couple of minutes, he drops that whole "You're my
you're my savior."
Jesus Christ,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
You're my savior. Like, I mean, right off the bat, it's like, okay, blatant. It's like right there.
Yeah, they don't bury the lead.
I'd forgotten how blatant it was.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, it is very much. Yeah.
There's no subtlety.
No, not at all. Not at all. So, watching back through it, the special effects don't really bother me. Some of them don't really hold up. I think that 360 turnaround they do it with Trinity at the beginning, where she jumps up and time freezes, and they do that pan around with the camera. I still think that looks excellent.
I love that.
Where
she's suspended in midair.
Yeah, it's so good.
Crane kick,
so good. And then she runs on the wall, and that looks great. I mean, that whole first sequence looks good until she jumps off the roof and does the Superman fly. And that's a
little sketchy.
You definitely lose it there, but
I think it holds up pretty good. I'm watching it.
Yeah,
watching it on Blu-ray. I thought it held up pretty good.
I think it's good. So real quick, trivia, and Donnie, I know that you sometimes look some of this stuff up. So, what do you know about the choreography, the stunt coordinator? Did you hear the story about who they picked to do this?
Are you talking about the fighting, the
yes.
Asian gentleman?
Yes, yeah, who didn't really want to do it?
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I can't say it. It's Wu Ping Yoon.
Yeah, that's him.
So
you just said I can't say it, and said it.
I mean, I'm sure that's completely wrong.
I didn't have it written down. That's why I couldn't say it.
So. So the story goes that they wanted him to do it. He's like a kung fu legend in like Hong Kong, and they wanted him to do all of the stunt coordinating and the choreography, and so he didn't want to do it. And so the story goes that he went to the Wachowskis when they came back. First they gave him the script. And he said he didn't like it. He didn't want to do it, and they kept pursuing him. Then he came back and actually gave them like a ridiculous price. And they met that. They're like, yeah, we'll give you whatever you want. And then he came back a third time and said, okay, if you want to do this, he wants to have complete control of the fights, and he wants to train all of the actors 4 months before the shoot starts. And the Wachowski said, yep, sure, that's fine. So with nothing else to barter, he agreed to do it. And I think the fights, especially the last fight between Smith and Neo, I think are just excellent. I think all of the fighting choreography is just great.
I love it. My favorite scene, I think, in the whole movie is probably the dojo scene.
Oh,
I love
Morpheus
scene.
and Neo. Yeah,
when you can tell he's downloaded the Bruce Lee program.
Oh, that's right.
Like,
yeah,
his nose.
Yes.
And then Morpheus does this little kind of karaoke step like across the screen.
Yes.
I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Good. Yeah, it's good. I think that I mean, they use guns a lot, clearly. But like the movie, to me, what I remember even from my first screening was the hand-to-hand stuff. Like I don't know. I'm trying to think outside of actual kung fu movies. I can't think of a movie really
American Ninja.
I don't know that I know that. American Ninja. I don't think I've seen that.
Michael Dudikoff. Come on, man.
I don't know that I've seen.
Who is this guy?
What is that? Is American Ninja really a movie?
It's a Michael Dudikoff movie.
Great movie.
Come on.
Gosh.
Oh my god.
Whatever. Anyway, I don't remember watching a movie where I was like yes, as far as like hand to hand stuff. It felt very satisfying. It had a weight to it, and it felt really, really cool.
Watch Kung Fu Hustle.
I have seen Kung Fu Hustle. That movie was great.
I believe that's on Hulu. Right?
I'm pretty sure that's after Matrix, though, isn't it? That's like a 2000s movie, right?
Yeah.
But it was good. I thought the cast was great. I don't remember most of this cast before this movie. Like I didn't know. I think this may have actually been Carrie-Anne Moss's first role, but I don't remember her before that. I mean, outside of Keanu Reeves, they kept showing people that I didn't really know. I mean, now I understand they're established. Like Hugo Weaving is an established actor, but I didn't really remember him from anything. So it was.
I knew Joe Pantoliano from a lot of stuff from the '80s. He was in tons of movies.
He was in a lot of stuff.
And Lawrence Fishburne, I knew from a lot of stuff. He was in Apocalypse Now. He was in all kinds of stuff.
I had recognized him, but to be honest, I couldn't tell you.
He's the best. I like him better than anybody in the movie.
Yeah, he's good. That scene where he meets him for the first time, they have the whole pill scene where he's kind of explaining to him. He is so just commanding at like that. That's his personality in the movie.
I watched the interview with him, and he said, when I saw Morpheus on screen, he scared me. That's what Lawrence Fishburne said.
Yeah.
He's like, he kind of scared me.
Yeah.
Listen, any man that can wear sunglasses without arms.
Oh man, that's impressive. Those sunglasses are. Yeah, I mean, I think they had a clip on them, but even then, it either had to be super tight, so much that it probably cut into his skin, or he had to just constantly be adjusting.
Sticky. They probably put something sticky on there and just.
Maybe. Kind of like a Robin mask glue.
That's funny to think that that Keanu Reeves was the biggest actor in that movie.
Oh, by far.
Yeah. I mean, Lawrence Fishburne, like you said, I had heard of. I'd seen. I knew him.
But he was always a bit player kind of guy.
Yeah.
He was never like King of New York, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was just I just remember like the movie opens up and you spend
someday.
You spend like the first 10 minutes with Hugo Weaving and Carrie-Anne Moss, and to my knowledge, I didn't recognize either one of these people. And
also Longmire.
Who's that?
The show Longmire. You never seen it?
No, I don't know that. Is that
it's on Netflix? Show? It's a great show. It's he's a sheriff in Wyoming.
Oh,
he's
Hugo Weaving?
No. He's one of the other agents. He's the
gotcha.
tall agent.
No, I've never
seen Longmire.
No, I'm adding it to my list. I got so far I have American Ninja. American Ninja, now I have a Longmire, whatever that is.
It's a TV show.
Okay, I got it. Settle down.
It's on FX, right?
Let's talk about. Can I bring something up? What about the Nebuchadnezzar? That's the ship that they're taking refuge in. Why Nebuchadnezzar? Why that name? What are your thoughts on that?
Wow.
Because they tried to cram every piece of biblical interesting imagery into that movie.
They did. I'll give you that.
Hey, Nebuchadnezzar is a cool word.
But okay, here's my thought on that.
Yeah, let's have it.
Morpheus tells Neo the Matrix is control. Basically, you're trying to get out from under that control. Okay. So what we know about Nebuchadnezzar from the Bible is what he exalted himself, self-sufficiency. Of course, it cost him. You know, he got in trouble later on, but that was my thought. Was like, here we are, we're away from control, like we're our own thing.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of them end up dying. So there you go.
That's that they do.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe Pantoliano.
What a goober.
Killed.
What a goober.
Sure.
You know, I had never really thought much about it. I mean, I other than the obvious reference to a biblical character, I hadn't really thought much about.
Yeah, like that. I agree with Phil though. They did toss a bunch of junk in there, like Trinity. Yeah. Nebuchadnezzar.
And here's Methuselah.
Yeah, right.
So let's talk about the Oracle. So going back, okay, let's backtrack to the theory that we just had, that every matrix is an individual matrix per person, right? So then do we believe once they unplug Neo that they are dialing into the Oracle's matrix? Is that what we believe? And then if that's the case, if you remember the Oracle has
what's happening? I don't know.
I'm
just asking you a
see
theory.
Other people glaze over. I just went, what? I don't know.
So you're asking if they went into her reality?
Yeah. So okay.
But she's out, right? Is she in the Matrix or is she? I don't remember.
No,
they go in the Matrix.
They're in the
Right?
Matrix. Yeah, she is inside the Matrix.
So is she a?
You're saying they had to go into her Matrix?
They had to go into her Matrix.
But here's
the program or a person?
It's a program.
It's a great question.
It is a great question. I told you I don't understand this movie at all.
So if she's a program, then it doesn't have to be her Matrix. It could be any Matrix because she's a program.
Maybe she's an agent. That's why she says he's not the one.
We have a mild problem with your only one Matrix per person theory, which I actually like.
Hit me.
But doesn't that Matrix then cease to exist once Neo awakens?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So they don't go back to that Matrix.
Yeah, but he calls in at the end, and he says, "Hey." He's calling the Matrix right at the very end of the movie. Right? Am I wrong?
Hey, Matrix.
Hey.
He calls in.
411.
Well, he's using a payphone for crying out loud.
Which, by
So
the
he
way,
calls
dates this
in.
movie. Those don't even exist anymore.
He calls in and he says, I want you to know I'm going to show him what you don't want him to see. Like, I'm shutting it down. I just wanted you to know. And he hangs up. So what does that mean? The Matrix is still there. In fact, the interview, the director dude says, we intentionally didn't want to destroy the Matrix at the end. Everybody wanted it to be a big Death Star explosion type thing.
Okay.
But we intentionally didn't destroy it because we wanted Neo to manipulate it or go back into it or whatever.
But okay, so see that my problem with that is the whole conceit of Neo being able to manipulate it is just him understanding the architecture of the world that he's in. Like he can now manipulate. I don't know that it has to specifically be his Matrix, but
He can now manipulate sushi recipes.
Exactly.
Can he manipulate everybody's Matrix now? Everybody's singular Matrix?
I mean, I don't know why not. I mean,
okay. I'm okay with that.
The one.
I mean, he's Superman at the end, right?
Yeah,
He's
he
flying
flies
around.
away. I hate
that was kind of cheesy.
I hate that the other two movies ended up as horrible as they were.
Never should have existed. Those movies never should have existed.
I agree with that. I agree.
That is a movie.
Although the scene
like and you'd be like, what? And just left us to talk about it.
I do love the scene. I think it's in the second one where there's all those screens, TV screens of Neo behind the guy, and he's on all those reactions.
Yeah,
and they're quiet. You just see all these like angry Neo, like.
It just got too confusing. It was like, okay, the sequels to the Matrix remind me. They to me make me think of the last 3 seasons of Lost, right? Where it's like all of a sudden we've written ourselves into this thing where we've got to answer a bunch of questions that nobody really cares. Like, well, in the Lost, obviously people wanted questions answered, but it was like, leave us hanging. Just leave us hanging. I'm okay with that. Like you created this crazy thing. Like, let us just talk about it.
Yeah.
And then 2 and 3. It's as if they decided to say, look, we know that we wrote this whole movie to poke holes in your reality, but we have to give you a new one. Like, we got to give you answers.
Yeah.
But the whole movie existed to create questions, not answers, which is a postmodern idea, to love the question more than the answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
The money machine, bro.
Yeah. I do agree that was, I feel like that was more of a publishing or, a production company.
Cash cow.
Yeah.
The money grab, absolutely.
But I do agree that I think that the sequels really tarnish what the original is. Because to be honest, even though I watch The Matrix normally at least once a year, I don't know the last time I've watched the 2 sequels. And so everything we could be talking about a single Matrix or multiple Matrices, that could be answered in the movies. I actually don't remember if it is or not. So
but that was the problem with 2 and 3 is they just created more like what?
Yeah, right.
The special effects were a little.
So it's like Stranger Things. Like, we're just gonna have more monsters.
Yeah.
Same plot. More monsters.
I read somewhere that they're finally going to give Will a break in season 3. Like, we're not going to torment this 12-year-old anymore.
Poor kid.
That kid's scarred for life. So how come they haven't freed more people than they have? Is it that hard? I mean,
yeah, because if you shock their system, they'll die, right? Like, this idea, they have to want,
because
right?
that happens to Neo, right?
That's what happened. Yeah, you got to take the pill. You got to make the choice, and you have to show an interest in wanting to be freed from this prison. Because isn't that how Cypher or whatever? Like, isn't that how he kills a few of them just by unplugging them without them jacking out? He just and they die. And so you could just go through going, hey, and everybody just.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
He did zap some guys.
So I agree. I think it is more of a process, but I do think so. I think that physically, yes, I think it's a process, and they can't just drop it off. But I think metaphorically, I think it like the bigger picture is the idea of free will. Like, you have to You have to choose to walk the path, and that's kind of what they're getting at. It's like we could, so hypothetically, we could unplug everybody, but it like they have to choose then to believe us.
But here's my question on that.
All right.
These people were also born, and that's the only reality they've ever known.
That's true.
True. So was Neo, right? He was born that way.
Correct.
Okay. So his existence, though, in the Matrix is dull, boring. You know, all the things you said earlier. Guy goes to work, he comes home. Is everyone like that? Because if they are, why wouldn't there be more of them? Like, get me out of here. You know?
No. I mean, like I said,
why is his so bad?
Because he's a Jesus figure, and Jesus grew up poor.
That's right. He had to suffer,
and he had to like live this suffering life.
Because
it's a crammed in like messianic thing.
Yeah. I honestly
let's go with Ray's parents. Right? Let's go with Ray's parents. They're nobodies. Ray, you're nobody. You have to have a character that, like, what would he want to be free of if he was the king of his Matrix?
Yeah, that's true. If he was president of the United States, had everything that he wanted, like, why would he agree to go?
I'm just wondering if everybody's was that way. I get your point. It's well taken.
Yeah, I feel like, but even still, his life kind of sucked. But even still, like, there's that moment. So this goes back to the whole, the twist where Cypher, turns on them, right? And he wants to be.
Their whole group was deciphered.
Oh God, I wish I could mute you sometimes.
Thanks, Joey Pants.
So
that's what they call him.
Cypher's whole thing, which we talked about, Cypher's whole thing is I want to be plugged back into the Matrix.
He was in Memento too, by the way.
Yeah.
Joe Pantoliano.
So was Carrie Ann Moss.
That's right. It's a reunion. Keep going, Chris.
Keep going.
Speaking of people that shouldn't be in movies, what's his face? Forrest Whitaker's in Black Panther, and he's just as bad in that movie as he is in everything else.
Hey, you know who I really liked in the Matrix though? I really did. Was the guy that played Tank. I have no idea who he is, but he's really good.
Oh, he's
good.
He's
got this genuine youthful glee about Neo, and he's just like, yeah, man.
Yeah, dude,
he's excited all the time.
He's excited.
You're the dude.
He was probably just an extra. That's why he was excited. He's probably just an extra. They're like, we need one more guy. How about you? It's like, yes.
We blew our budget on stunt coordinators, so we need somebody that'll work for free. Will you do this?
Yeah. Yes, I will. No, okay. So, okay. Back on point. So Cypher decides to, his whole thing is that he felt duped into coming out of the Matrix, and that it's miserable. He hates his life. And so
Zora's on the run, right?
Of course, yeah. But he he talks about how he has to always eat the that mushy crap they always eat. Gross. Yeah, he talks about the whole experience. It's cold, and he doesn't have nice clothes. He talks about the whole experience. And so going back, so even though Neo's existence is probably not the best, like Morpheus is trying to bring him into this existence that really does suck. I mean, we're talking about like third world living, post-apocalyptic living in in a 6x6 closet.
Like Terminator.
Yeah, sure, I guess.
The robots running amok.
Exactly. So So I do think there's just a bit of this, like you have to choose, because this is gonna suck. It's like you have to understand what you're getting into, and you have to. So do you want your eyes opened even if it's not pretty, or do you want to keep living a lie?
The helicopter scene where they fly in with the helicopter and they shoot up the room where Morpheus is at. That's like look-wise, that scene is amazing. But it's like,
there's no way he didn't shoot Morpheus.
How did you not hit like all of those people in that room? If you watch the gun in that scene, it's going up and around and down. It's like, what are you hitting? He hits nothing hardly.
Yeah, no, I mean,
how do you not hit Morpheus?
Yeah, how do you not hit Morpheus? That's the question. Because Morpheus was right in the middle of the room. If you're gonna hit anybody, it's gonna be that guy, and he can't even move. So the other guys are trying to move out of the way.
This is my Morpheus in that scene.
Okay,
Sorry.
So let's wrap it up. I think we've had a good conversation. Look, I love the Matrix. I think the Matrix has I think it's great action. I think it has a lot of teeth. The idea of, do you really want to know the truth, even if the truth is bad? Like
Inception. Same thing.
Inception.
Ignorance is bliss.
Very good. Ignorance is bliss.
Who cares if I'm dreaming?
Yeah.
Why do I care?
Yeah.
If the top quits spinning or not.
Yeah.
If I'm happy.
That's true. So this is great. It's a great kind of movie. It's a thought-provoking movie, which I love. Great movie.
Can I add a closing thought to that? Because personally believe, being a person, being a Christian, having a Christian faith, believing what's interesting to me is that I see that movie completely through that lens.
Yeah.
But you have to know, just by some of the, and I'm not going to get into all of that, but some of the life choices of the people that made the movie, that's not where they're coming from.
Sure.
So you have to just say, from a purely standpoint of writing and they created a world that allowed people from very completely different viewpoints and backgrounds and ideas to superimpose their idea on top of it and see themselves in it, which is probably part of its appeal.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah, I think it has a very real, because not even from a Christian perspective. We're all married. Like, the question is, if your wife cheated on you, do you really want to know? Like, would you rather just live in ignorance the rest of your days rather than have to face the pain? That is a real moral question that transcends technically, religion, or it's just any person has that can it's just like you said, Phil, can face that from that perspective. And so for that, I think it's very, very cool.
I have a deeper question I want to end with.
All right, let's hear it.
Would you rather have the Star Trek II Wrath of Khan ear thing crawling in your ear, or the Matrix tracking bug crawling into your belly button? Which would be worse?
Oh, man.
Matrix. I would rather have the Matrix.
Yeah, I think
really?
the ear
I don't want stuff in my ear, man.
Yeah.
Dude, did you see the scene? It's horrific.
And he has like 8 little arms, and they keep poking in there. Oh, it's gross. It's gross.
I think
Have
I would
you
take
ever
the
had? Oh, you're crazy.
You have to
You ever
watch
had
the
something
thing.
in your
You
ear?
watched it. Crawl in. You can't see this at least. It's like watching surgery. I'd rather not see it. I take the ear thing.
All right.
I watched Survivor a couple seasons ago when a girl had a bug in her ear and cried incessantly for days till that thing just crawled right out of her ear.
Yeah, I don't want anything in my ear. Nothing in my ear. No, I don't want that. All right. As we end every show, I will ask you guys, how would you rate The Matrix? Donnie, we'll start with you. What would you give The Matrix?
I will give The Matrix 91 Morpheus.
Is that the plural of Morpheus? Can we get a spot check on that? Can we get a spot check? Yes, accepted.
As also, Chris, matrices is the plural of matrix, just so you know later on.
Wow, I didn't want to know that, but thank you.
Carry on.
Phil, how would you rate The Matrix?
That's an anagram. I would rate it also 91 weird back plug things.
The actual thing that plugs in, or the creepy holes in their arm plug thing?
All of
all the plugs. All of the plugs. All of the plugs.
All of them.
I agree with that rating then.
I would I think this is for me a perfect movie. So I would give this 100 Nokia cell phones and call it a day.
That reminds me, I had an Ericsson cell phone in the 90s where the earpiece slid up, which was the closest thing you could get to the. I mean, we didn't have the mouthpiece slide down thing.
Yeah.
And I used to think, because I could answer, it'd be like, and
coolest thing ever.
I won't lie. After watching this, I went and found the sleekest, blackest sunglasses I could find. Yeah, just like that. All right, guys. This is our second episode on The Matrix. If I don't even know. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at NeoLego. Phil, what's your Twitter handle?
At Phil Miles.
At Phil Miles, and then Donnie.
FIO, my aliens.
At Miles_Donnie with an IE.
There you go. And if you're listening to this, we are live on SoundCloud. We're also on Stitcher and Google and iTunes. You can subscribe to the podcast, and we will see you next time. Bye.